From the CNN Center to viewers around the world, this is CNN 10, and I'm Carl Azus. Wherever and however you're watching, thank you for doing it. U.S. President Donald Trump held a news conference last night to address the coronavirus we've talked so much about. Since it was first identified in Wuhan, China in mid-December, the disease has infected more than 80,000 people worldwide and killed more than 2,700 people. Most of the infections and deaths have been in China. And while health officials have said this virus is not as widespread or deadly as the flu, there are concerns that it may start to spread seasonally like influenza does. The new coronavirus has now been diagnosed on every continent but Antarctica. It appears to be deadly in around 2% of cases. Symptoms of survivors range from severe to mild. There's no vaccine or cure for it, so people around the world are asking what governments and health officials are doing to prevent its spread. In the United States, the Trump administration has said the disease is contained at this point, meaning it's not spreading through communities. Health officials from the Centers for Disease Control say the immediate risk is low and that they're working to keep it that way, but that wider transmission in America is likely.
This virus is probably with us beyond this season or beyond this year, and I think eventually the virus will find a foothold and we will get community-based transmission. And you can start to think of it in a sense like seasonal flu. The only difference is we don't understand this virus.
Yesterday, the Trump administration requested that $2.5 billion be set aside to pay for America's response to the disease. That would include vaccine development, preparing medical offices for patients, and closely tracking where and when coronavirus shows up. The White House says it's confident that the money it requested will be enough, but critics in Congress say much more is needed. Senate Democrats have requested that $8.5 billion be used to fight coronavirus. These are some of the issues that President Trump talked about yesterday at the White House.
We've stopped non-U.S. citizens from coming into America from China. That was done very early on. We're screening people, and we have been at a very high level, screening people coming into the country from infected areas. We have in quarantine those infected and those at risk. We have a lot of great quarantine facilities. We're rapidly developing a vaccine, and they can speak to you. The professionals can speak to you about that. The vaccine is coming along well, and in speaking to the doctors, we think this is something that we can develop fairly rapidly, a vaccine for the future. But we're very, very ready for this, for anything, whether it's going to be a breakout of larger proportions or whether or not we're at that very low level. And we want to keep it that way.
What is a pandemic? To understand that, we need to first understand where they start.
An epidemic is simply an outbreak of infection in a localized area. A pandemic is when that infection spreads to multiple countries or around the world.
And while on one hand we're better protected than before, on the other, our changing society brings together a host of other challenges.
In this day and age, all you need is one person at the airport and you can infect the whole world.
The majority of pandemics to date have been strains of influenza, though pandemics can be any type of infection, usually a virus. Many new or novel viruses come from animals. They can pass onto humans after close contact, in a process called zoonotic spillover.
And when that happens, sometimes the virus is not very transmittable because it's suited to circulating only in animals. But sometimes we see ones that can transmit from person to person, and they can be quite efficient at doing this. And in that case, an outbreak can become an epidemic as it grows, and there's a chance that it could spread more widely.
This is what happened in the 2009 swine flu pandemic. A pig influenza virus moved into people. Pig viruses are similar to human viruses, and that allowed human-to-human transmission to happen quicker. More than a decade has passed since the 2009 pandemic, and the world's population has grown, as have the risks of passing viruses between people.
We're getting more and more people on the planet. We're having more and more globalization. People are traveling from country to country more than ever before. So these are the kind of things that will cause pandemics to happen.
Medicine, technology, and communication have all improved with time, and serious outbreaks require international cooperation. But experts say the real question isn't if a new pandemic strikes, but instead, how bad it could be.
10-second trivia. Which of these social media networks is owned by a Chinese company? Pinterest, TikTok, WhatsApp, or Snapchat? All of these networks are owned by American companies except TikTok, which was launched in 2016. Today, TikTok has hundreds of millions of users around the world, but there are new restrictions on how U.S. government workers can use the app. As of this week, the Transportation Security Administration says TikTok may no longer be used for its social media outreach. The TSA is responsible for keeping America's airports secure. It employs around 50,000 security officers to help do this, and the agency says it uses several social media platforms to communicate with Americans. Like other apps, TikTok collects information about the people who use it. But because TikTok is owned by a Chinese company, and because there are laws in China that require companies to cooperate with the intelligence work of the Chinese government, some U.S. security experts and lawmakers have said using TikTok could cause problems for America's national security. The TSA says it's never had an official TikTok account, but that a small number of its employees have used the app to make videos for the agency's social media outreach. That's not allowed anymore. The TSA is joining the Department of Defense, the State Department, and the Department of Homeland Security in putting restrictions on how their employees can use TikTok.
I'm out walking the streets looking for people whose pets need some care. Would you mind if I take a look at them?
Please.
Yeah?
Ready to go. Eli Manning, what's up, brother? I told you you were gonna wear a lampshade.
I want to get him some help, and I think we should do it sooner than later. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, man, I love him. He's my son.
This is my whole life. And cray-cray. Dream is, like I say, to get her eyes fixed and me get off the cancer.
I know the pets are reliant on people, but I think the people are even more dependent on their pets. They love them and care for them, and it's genuine.
News bloopers always rate 10 out of 10. Justin Hinton is a reporter with CNN affiliate WLOS. He was live on the station's Facebook page last week talking about snowfall in North Carolina, but there was a little problem. He'd accidentally flipped on the face filters.
Kind of across the region. We know Governor Cooper had put out a message earlier today warning people to be careful.
And the longer it went on, the better it went on. Hinton says he didn't even realize this was happening until he saw the comments. News station employees, friends, and viewers were all writing in telling him how funny his report was. Once everything was wrapped up, Hinton said, if you can't laugh at yourself, what's the point of laughter? Some people get nervous facing the camera. Justin just makes faces at it. He could have done an about face and faced up to defacing an otherwise factual report with some silly FaceTime, but let's face the music and face the facts. Justin put his best face forward and saved face by flashing a smile that no one could efface, and that is face news. I'm Carl Azuz for CNN 10. Valley High School in Gilcrest, Colorado is the home where the Vikings roam. It's great to have you guys watching on YouTube.